Most of the times when I'm working, I'm actually working as a helper, right? Where I'm guiding someone else. So that's how it started. To begin with, it was more about the cause which drove me to the marathon. So I have realized that some of the most meaningful decisions in my life from my career that I have taken is where I have actually slowed down. Career happening and there is life happening at the same time. So it kind of goes parallelly because from an A standpoint, both career building and building your family is actually exactly
your message to her.
Yeah, and Dr. Siva, I intentionally use that word exhausted because this happens quite a lot, right? Like when I ask people,
Hi there. Welcome to SheSight Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. CV, and here we dive into real stories of women who are making an impact, women who inspire, innovate, and lead change in their fields. SheSight is a platform that amplifies women's voices, celebrates their journeys, and builds a strong community of empowerment and growth. Before I welcome today's podcast guest, I'm so delighted to announce the launch of a newest initiative from SheSight Global, which is called the SheSpeakers.com. Women with extraordinary expertise are everywhere, but on most stages, they remain invisible. She Speakers changes that. A curated platform where brilliant women leaders, entrepreneurs, academics, and changemakers get discovered, listed, and booked for speaking opportunities they deserve. If you organize events, She Speakers is your go-to for voices that truly represent the world. And if you are a woman with a story and a stage to claim, this is your space. Find your speaker, claim your stage. Visit www.shespeakers.com today. Now it's time to introduce today's guest. Our guest today has spent more than 26 years leading global operations across North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. She is a GCC leader. She has built and scaled large teams, driven enterprise transformation, and led some seriously complex change programs in insurance and business services world. She is passionate about AI-ready organizations, the future of work, and, of course, developing leaders who can hold their ground in a fast-moving world. She's also currently pursuing a PhD, runs marathons, and somehow fits yoga in between all of that. We are so excited to have her today at SheSight Global's She Powered podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome Miss Rossy Bernard. Hi, Rossy. How are you today? And welcome to SheSight Podcast. It's really amazing and wonderful to see a woman leader of your stature and being a part of our SheSight global community. Let's get started with your experience so far as a leader in Global Capability Centers, GCC. That word itself is becoming a place where many women are aspiring to be. So help us understand what is actually a GCC and how is it like in a day there, being a woman in leader?
Yeah, it's like the most talked about term nowadays, isn't it? The global capability centers. And I will probably explain it with the help of an analogy. It's like at times I feel, my job is like an air traffic controller at a very busy international airport. And you can imagine, how many the multiple flights coming in, different directions, different priorities, different time zones, and everyone believes that their situation is the most critical one. And now imagine the same thing within the GCC. You have got strategies, transformation, innovation, and execution all colliding at super high speed together, and you need to be still calm and still looking at it and taking it one at a time. So some days you're solving business problems across continents. On the other days, you're navigating cultural differences. On some other days, it's just global expectations. And on some other days, you're just explaining, for the fifth time as to why you have to have a call at 9 p.m., which is not actually very quick. So kind of, it's about, how do you operate ambiguous situation. And it's a very powerful space. So as I said, right, like you get to learn. It's like MBA at super speed pace where you get to see everything that you want to do and it's all happening together. So I feel it's a great learning journey, but what is more important is the calmness that you maintain and about looking at it it's one at a time, so that you are not allowing for a complete collision happening at any one point of time. If that answers your question, Dr. Siva.
When you mentioned about the chaos and everyday navigation and other things, or every hour the things might change, I was actually thinking about that's how women's lives are. If you're a working mother, for example, this is how your life is. So I think definitely women have that competency or inherent capability to handle such situations. But then can you also talk about how the environment keep changing on a very fast pace on a daily basis. How do organizations take on the spot decisions? And that's where the leadership comes in. So tell us about how you have navigated that part so easily, and that's why you are in this senior position today. So tell us how that works.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me, a great question, by the way, and it reminds me of one of the books that I had read during my early years, and it was about ship. And I think it's the same thing that over here, you're actually a captain of a ship. And when you're a captain of a ship, what the crew is not expecting is that the captain will control the weather. Right? You can't do it, right? You're only human. But what they're really looking for is, the confidence, clarity, and the calmness which the captain can bring in while navigating through that situation. And I found that book very relatable.
Okay.
Because that's actually what a leader's role is, right? I mean, in that whole collision that can happen at any point of time, can you stop it from happening? It isn't. But the clarity that you bring onto the table and the prioritization that you're able to do for your team, I think that is what helps the team, and that's what the team is looking for at any point of time, right? And they're looking for someone who, yes, even in that chaos, is able to give them that confidence that hey, so what? Like we can still do it. So I feel it's all about that's basically, and I keep hearing this word about executive presence, but that's executive presence for me. For me, that executive presence is really about creating that trust where people look up to you and they know that they can rely on your judgment. They know that you are able to communicate clearly when it comes to pressure, and you bring that calmness in difficult situation.
Excellent. I think I love that definition that you gave for executive presence. Do you think that definition is varying when it comes to women? Is there a different expectations for women when it comes to executive presence?
I think when I look at leadership, of course, there's the gender is something that we look at, but eventually it is leadership, right? And for me, it's like and I keep telling my teams that it's like a bit like seasoning in the food, right? It's if it is more, you don't want to eat it. If it is less, you can't identify it, right? So you need to kind of like have a balance of kind of that visibility that you're trying to bring about, and at times you have to talk for yourself. So I think one thing which if I look at women leaders, I sometimes feel that. To your earlier point that we feel that we can do a lot of things at one point of time and we keep doing executing and at times we believe that there's someone else who's going to talk for us and what we do, but in that chaotic environment of that air traffic controller where things are happening at the same time, collision can happen and everyone is running in different direction, who will stand and kind of talk for you? So that standing and talking for you has to be you yourself. And I think that's what is important in terms of having that visibility and then talking about what you are doing or what you have done. Take some time for yourself. I think it's, and we all talk about it, and each one of us have got a long way to go. But I think that's one thing which, at least for the women leaders, what I would, basis my experience, I would recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you brought up a very important point to be actually more visible at work. Women tend to be invisible at work. They do all the work at the background. And then when it comes to be on the stage or in a boardroom, that's when someone else takes over. So that actually also brings to another aspect. There are certain people, not just women, who actually, when you are working towards your visibility angle, sometimes it can unintentionally work against someone. Like, let's say, I'm doing this to build my career versus I'm doing this to sabotage someone else's career. Have you seen such scenarios play out in your organizational experience?
Oh yes, I mean you come across it. It's like about having visibility, but at times you're creating harmful visibility for yourself, and it happens. I do also feel that most of the time I've seen this happening in the earlier careers because in earlier careers when people are just getting into the leadership position, there is this thought process that visibility means you have to be in every meeting, you have to be constantly speaking, you have to be constantly seen. But I think over the years when leaders are in that position, and mostly because most of them learn from their mistakes, they realize it's not just about being there on all meetings, but it's about meaningful visibility and contribute where needed. Not just being present but contribute. I mean, you can be in like 20 meetings in a day, but you spoke like 3 lines. You are not helping yourself, right? Because then the others are actually thinking, your team is thinking, what value is this person adding just by being in that meeting, right? So sometimes, and sometimes very smart people do this, right? Very smart people, they unintentionally what do I say, dilute their impact by just just kind of being there everywhere. So like just going back to my the seasoning and food example, I mean visibility has to share, it should amplify your value and not replace it. So that's kind of very important, and I would leave people with that analogy.
That's wonderful. At the same time, having said that, I also see in corporate career ladder, it's even now difficult for women to reach beyond a certain limits. There is this glass ceiling which we have been talking for decades right now in management literature, which exists even now, right? And women are told to work hard. You have to work hard. So there's sufficient literature to state or confirm that women has to or is expected to put in at least 2x or 3x of efforts in order to reach the position that an average man would be able to reach, right? So this advice of making women work hard. At the same time, when it comes to leadership conversations, many women also keep quiet. They don't take it up, right? So have you come across situations in your career where in your organization, when you're working with large number of workforce, and there'll be approximately like, ideally 50% women, but the number of women as they grow into their career ladder or growing up in senior positions, they actually lose out, or rather they do not take up such positions. So have you come across such situations? And in such cases, what is your action as a woman leader yourself?
And it holds true in the global context, isn't it, Dr. Sylvia?
100%.
I think for a woman leader, like, there is career happening and there is life happening at the same time. So it kind of goes parallelly because, from a standpoint, both career building and, building your family is actually exactly at the same point. So, there always comes this situation and we're trying to manage both because most of the leaders, most of the women now that I speak to, they all are very aspirational. They want to build their career and we want to do a lot of things all by ourselves, right? Like kind of completely boil the ocean and, we all want a flag on top of it and we all want to be leaders.
Yes.
But I think if you ask me from my own learning, I think a couple of things that, as when I look back and I talk to, some of the existing leaders who are aspiring leaders, I talk to them. One is because there are two parallel things happening in our life. We get so involved in execution that we are always executing, right? It's always about what do I do today? Let me complete the work today and then let me look at it tomorrow and then I'm completing my work, right? What's probably not happening and which can really help is that how you're learning, right? Like for you to get into leadership position, you need to know what's happening in the market. You need to read extensively in terms of what's happening, right? And I get my leaders telling me, but where is the time? Right? I get up in the morning, there's, that stiffen's happening, the kids are going to school, my in-laws are there with me and all that life changes that happen. But we have podcasts nowadays, for example. Right? So when I'm cooking, like when I'm in the kitchen, I've got like an hour worth of time, which I can use to kind of just listen. Like, and you're not reading something, you're not done have to sit, you're busy doing your work, but you're listening. It helps you in two ways. One is, it trains your mind to know what's actually happening outside in the world. Second is you get out of the victim mode, is what I feel, because the victim mode is like, oh my God, I'm just done. What did I do? Nothing for myself. But you actually enriched that 1 hour, not just for your family, but for yourself. But and that actually helps you in your boardrooms, because then when you're coming into a meet, which is you're hurrying up and you're actually getting a chores done, you actually reached into a meeting, but that what you heard at the beginning of the day, that 30 minutes or 40 minutes, decide your time. That helps you navigate and be at the same level that some of the other leaders are, irrespective of the gender. That's what they're doing differently, right? Because they have time and they can probably read the paper. That's what is the difference. So sometimes you stop yourself from talking in the meetings is because, you don't know what's actually happening in the market. And, the discussion in that room is about, hey, yesterday cricket, something happened. Hey, football, what happened? Yesterday, the stock market crashed, or, you know about this, and you're waiting because, and not realizing that the meeting has started. So I think that maintaining that balance, and there is investment. I wouldn't say it's like super easy. I wouldn't romanticize it. It is difficult. But if you're able to maintain that balance, I think you've cracked it.
Hello, powerful woman. Yes, I meant you. I'm Dr. Chandravadana, or you can call me Dr. CV, founder of SheSight Global Media and SheSight Magazine. One thing what I've noticed is that women doesn't need to be empowered more. I think we are sort of really capable of handling ourselves. What we need is visibility, recognition, and also the strength and courage to handle situations with peer support. And that exactly is the reason why I decided to launch the ShePower Global Community. Imagine if thousands of women across the globe are there to cheer you whenever you do something great. You might be wondering, what's new about this club and community? Our club operates based on the 7 powerful pillars of life. Different aspects that every woman needs in order to flourish in all aspects of her life. And we have regular conversations, networking meetups, and of course, challenges that makes this possible. Like the social media noise, this is a highly curated, exclusive club for women. If you're ready to invest on yourself and join the club of powerful women across the globe, come join me at ShePower Club. I mean, for ambitious women, for busy women, people say, time is something which is in your control. I believe it to some extent. To some extent, yes, there are certain things which are beyond our time. We can't control, sometimes. But I think to a great extent, if you want to, I've also heard this interesting proverb which says, if you want to get something done, give it to the most busiest woman out there. Because she will find a way to get it done. Right? So
Yeah.
anyway, so coming back to your own career so far, which involved obviously early stages of being part of capability centers and then slowly evolving and growing, finally reaching this leadership role. I think I felt when I saw your career journey, I felt that you have intentionally spent time in gaining deep expertise before actually taking on leadership roles. Is that right or wrong?
No, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm one person who truly believe in that, because I feel, generally people say that, you kind of just manage, right? You're just managing people. But at the end of the day, people are looking for insights from a leader.
Mm.
And it comes when you have, core institutional knowledge.
Yes.
So I have intentionally spent time in actually building that knowledge of mine, and to an extent that I can switch between, going super technical,
Mm.
to going ship, jargons,
Yeah.
to getting into, executive boardroom discussions, right? So
Yeah.
I think it also gives you an edge because you operate at three
Mm.
to four different levels. And at times, like when you are at this position, you are also able to get ideation on the table
Mm.
about a new way of doing things, not at the absolute top layer, but because you understand the business, you're able to give more powerful insights.
Mm.
So there's nothing against, people who have not done that, but it's just that it's just my way of looking at things, and I know every leader has a different way.
Yeah.
But my way is like, understanding it, from the core,
Yeah.
and then giving advice, before just giving advice, because creates a credibility as well for you as a
Yeah.
leader, because you talk about something not because you're given a designation or a title, you're talking about it because you understand the market, you understand the business
Mm.
further. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely a hallmark of most of the successful people out there, especially in CXO roles. You'll find that they do come with solid foundation, and I think that's what you meant by learning end to end of the basic operations before actually heading on to the leadership. It gives a power, I would say. That's how power is attained. Knowledge is power. Now, let's talk about chaos. Obviously, any leadership role comes with chaos and managing chaos. And for you, someone who has managed teams across different time zones, or when you're working with a global organization and trying to fulfill their needs with a bunch of people who might not know culturally what is happening in another country. So, how do you manage this sort of a chaotic environment, especially when there is transition and transformation happening on a regular basis, right? Even now, we are talking about AI transforming our workplace. So change management is probably a very, very critical role that leaders are considering in these days. So what is your perspective on that? And how do you think this situation, current situation especially, can be handled smoothly by a leader?
yeah, I mean, you bring a good point in terms of change management. That right, I'll hold on to it. I think what helped me, very early in my career is that I realized that change is actually not interruption.
Mm.
Change is the way of life when it comes to leadership, and once you accept that, because and accepting that is not easy,
Yeah.
because it's like everyone likes stability, right?
Yeah.
Everyone likes to
Comfort zone.
come to work and comfort zone, do the same thing in the same way.
Yeah.
And people who have worked with me, and my team can vouch for this, is I am something who comes with the chaos, right? I love chaos. I thrive in when it comes to chaos, because for me that change is needed,
Mm.
and only if you have do that change is where you actually go into the next zone or the next phase, whether it is coming to business or whether it comes to your own life for that matter, right?
Mm.
So pushing yourself, and I like to push myself and put myself into scenarios which is which kind of shakes me a little bit, or which makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And the reason, Dr. CV, is that over the years I've realized that every time that I've done that
Mm.
is where I have actually learned,
Yeah.
is where I have actually built my career and I've actually vertically grown, is
Mm.
every time that I've done that, where I've actually pushed myself into situations which were very uncertain, pushed myself into places where, you had to kind of implement AI. And while others are looking at, use cases, I'm like, hey, I'm more than happy. I will kind of help deploy it. And my team is looking at me and wondering, what is it that she's talking about, right? I mean, and then saying that, okay, I want to do it. Let's figure out, it's always possible.
Mm.
So with that kind of mindset, I think, and I wouldn't say that we're all there. Like, it's an evolving journey.
Mm.
But once you accept it, that this is the way of life, this is how it's going to be, then kind of doing it becomes much more easier. Then you're not completely every day pushing something, right? You're actually just going with the flow.
Mm.
So still evolving, I would say, but I think it's a good place at the moment. But that needs to be done. One is accepting that change is here to stay. And you touched upon AI as well, and I think that's transformation on a
Mm.
hourly basis, right?
Mm.
Every hour something or the other is actually happening. So if you resist change, you'll be left behind. Be a part of it, takes you forward, is how I would put that.
Mm, absolutely. So as because again we you spoke about AI, I'm also curious to know how AI is shaping the industry as such. Especially India has a lot of GCCs right now, and what is going to happen to the entire industry, which is based on the number of human resource that you have. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think so anyone will have a clear answer. And if I say that okay, I figured it out,
Yeah.
then I'm just giving you a lot of fluff. And I don't think so any organization at the moment has.
Yeah.
It's like the buzzword at the moment, and everyone wants to be in it because you want to do it. But there are very few organizations who have gone past looking at it from a use case perspective to actually deploying
Yeah.
something. And I genuinely feel that one of the reason is because we are looking at technology rather than looking at our own people within the organization. Because technology to happen, the one who drives it is people.
Yeah.
And I think whether it is GCCs or others, what we need to invest our time in is how do you build the capability of your workforce in a way that, they don't feel that AI is, going to take away their job or, it's a threat or at any levels for that matter. So if you're able to give tools to your leadership position and your workforce that, you're able to kind of reskill them or upskill them in a manner where they don't feel threatened. That is what leads to the adoption of AI. So, generally the focus seems to be technology and, investment in technology. But, my take is like slightly different. And that take is more in terms of, hey, reduce focus here and focus more on your workforce. They help drive AI. So I think that's what, I really believe in that aspect.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's true. It's too early, but at the same time, we know it has arrived. That's the moment of history we are at this point.
Correct.
That actually brings me, because you come with such a long professional experience, many professionals would be facing, or rather, you might have faced for yourself certain points in your career where the path feels a bit uncertain and difficult, but you somehow managed it. So is there any technique or things that you do to manage your own decision making process when it comes to your career confusions, if at all you had any? Why I'm asking that question is because it's again related to our audience who are navigating such situations in life. Maybe, as you said, due to AI or due to something, people are a bit worried about what's going to happen to my job. So how do we navigate that situation, especially our mindset?
Yeah, and I again, very pertinent actually, and I think with long careers that we all have, it's quite inevitable that there are phases in your life where you know that the next steps are, it feels unclear. And if I love to do analogies, but if I do an analogy here, it's like comparing it to driving through fog at night, right? And it is the path, for example, but you know that it's foggy, and sometimes it's just what's driving you or what's taking you is just gut feel rather than the full clarity. One thing I've also realized that when you're in that space and when things are like a little bit uncertain, uncertainty is not failure. Right. It's not about if you're uncertain about something, it's not about telling yourself that, oh, you're uncertain because there's some problem with you. It isn't, right? It's probably a good thing. Look at it as a more positive aspect, as in like I have realized that some of the most meaningful decisions in my life from my career that I have taken is where I have actually slowed down. And that slowed down happened at times when there was uncertainty in terms of, should I continue doing this? Is this what I want to do? Do I want to invest more in something else? Every time that question came into my mind, which I term as, uncertain about my next path, do I go right or left or straight? I think it is, and I'm being philosophical here, but, life has a way kind of bring you back to, where you wanted, and that going slow was actually good for you. So that uncertainty is not about you not knowing what you want to do, instead of just chasing the next milestone. And once you start looking at it from that perspective and you look back, you would realize that every time you asked yourself the question, every time you were uncertain, you did something different with your life, which was quite meaningful.
Yeah,
So I feel let's look at it that way. I think it gives you more positivity.
absolutely. I resonate that so much when you said about, I think every person navigates through certain uncertain or unclear situations in their life. It could be personal life, it could be professional life. But then decisions that you take, it might feel like you're jumping off a cliff, but that jumping off the cliff will let you get wings. How is my
Exactly. So
analogy?
very true, right?
All
So
right.
very true.
Okay, now because we spoke about jumping and running, let's talk about your personal passion. I heard that you are a marathon runner and yoga practitioner. Tell us more about how you balance your life. I know your professional life is extremely busy and hectic. How do you balance your personal passions?
Yeah, firstly, I mean, I don't run, but I walk.
Okay.
So running is, I would love to. Some of my friends are doing it, so, and they are like an inspiration for me. But I've started walking. Almost 2 to 3 years in a row continuously. I've been participating in marathon, and I do it with two aspects. One, there's always a cause that is for the marathon. So it's I've been supporting the Disability Colleague Resource Group, and I walk in alignment with them. So most of the times when I'm walking, I'm actually walking as a helper, right? Where I'm actually guiding someone else. So that's how it started.
Yeah.
To begin with, it was more about the cause which drove me to the marathon. But then it gave me a different meaning. The first time when I actually did it, believe me, rather than the one whom I was helping, who was definitely very happy. He's a college student, is visually impaired, but I felt I was more happy than even him, right? Because just to cover that 10K for me was like good. And suddenly you feel that your life has more means than just working, because after a point of time in your career and at the demanding careers that we are in, it's easy that your entire identity becomes about your work. Right, like I have two boys, and my younger one, like when he draws me or sketches me, he just sketches a person who's throughout on the call. Like you'll find a mother, and all my cards that I have, it's there's a lady, and there's a laptop with her, or she's in the meeting. And for some reason, that was like a wake up call, because it can't just be about work. There has to be more to me than just work. And I think that was another realization that I need to have. So that's where I got into marathon and yoga. Practically, you ask me, I'm sure every leader who's in this space that I am, it kind of gives you that mental balance a little bit, and you need it at least to begin your day. So I wouldn't say it started off as as a one-off, but it remained with me because I saw that it's giving me a more long-term benefit, and I would want to definitely continue with them. So if anyone is thinking as to is this something they should do, I would say very much. It's very important, and it creates a discipline in your life.
100%. Absolutely. I think wellness is something that most of the time, especially in India, we have this too much of a hustle culture, and you're expected to work from 9 to 9 p.m. and not even 9 a.m., like 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. But I think that is putting so much of toll on our health, which especially for women, I would say, it's because it's not just the workplace. The women's work doesn't stop when she reaches home. It actually continues. She has a new set of work to do at home. So it's very important that we prioritize ourselves, think about our well-being, our mental health, our physical health, emotional health. Everything is important. And especially being a leader, I think it is a non-negotiable, if you ask me. That also brings me to the other interesting thing I found about you, that you are also pursuing a PhD right now, which at this, having reached this kind of a pinnacle of leadership, you still want to do something more, and which is excellent. Tell us more about that.
So, I get this question quite a lot, Dr. CV, in terms of at least my friends who knows about it, some of my colleagues, they feel I'm crazy in terms of like, why this and why now? But, I feel that 5 days in a week, I'm stuck on calls where everyone is expecting that, we have answers to a lot of things because we have reached a particular position. And then I realized that, what's our learning process? Like, where is it that, we are kind of doing a learning? How am I upskilling myself? And that is what led me to kind of, get into this path a year back. When I started off with this PhD journey. But looking back, and I still get a lot of criticism in terms of, you're a corporate leader, and are you going to get into academia? It does not define me in terms of what career choices I make after it, but it's more about me investing in my own learning and me intentionally wanting to do a lot more reading and research and train myself slightly differently, apart from just being a corporate leader, right? So your designations and your titles go with the organizations that you work with. Today I'm with one, tomorrow I'm something else. Every organization has their own structure, and you're called something else. Your title changes. But this is a title which I want to earn for myself, which stays with me irrespective of where I go. But more importantly, I think it has been a very humbling journey because 2 days in a week, because I attend classes on Saturday and Sunday, I am a student. I'm a student who can ask questions, who, all crazy questions. I'm a student who's actually working with a lot of global leaders, actually, who are in that call. We are a batch of around 25 across the globe, 3 or 4 from India, but the rest are spread across. So you are actually creating a network, right? So for me, it's also investment in terms of creating a network of leaders across the globe, different organization, different types of organization, and learning about what's happening different in their spaces. Because we have a lot of simulations that we run. There are a lot of group discussions that happen. And, someone is talking about ESG, someone is talking about power plants, and someone is talking about broking like me. So you're getting to learn a lot of different things as well. So I think it's a very humbling journey. And of course, I wish a lot of luck as well as wishes from a lot of people to kind of complete this journey. But so far it has been, it is exhausting at times, but it's giving me back in exactly what I signed up for.
Yeah, because you said exhausting, I have to ask this question. What is your message to a woman who is right now in their mid-career and feels already exhausted? Is this journey worthwhile? Thinking like that, what is your message to her?
Yeah, and Dr. Siva, I intentionally use that word exhausted because this happens quite a lot, right? Like when I
Yes.
ask people or when I'm talking to my team, there are a few mentees whom I kind of do mentoring with, and they ask the same thing, where is the time? Like, and I feel exhausted. And I keep telling them exhaustion is not a weakness. We all get exhausted. So if anyone is telling me that, they don't get exhausted, they're full time on adrenaline, it's
No.
fluff,
Yeah.
right? Let's accept it. We are all human beings. And being human means that you go through all these emotions,
Correct.
the emotions of, being very happy on a day, pulling you down on the other day, feeling exhausted on the third day. I think it's just about how do you navigate that, that and you have your own way of treating your exhaustion, right? So, for example, in my case, and I was in one of the town halls, I talked about it, that I have some absolute, my son introduced me to some few Korean dramas, and then this is a different language altogether. I don't understand anything, but they were watching. I don't have an option. I sit and watch what they watch, but I got hooked onto it. And my probably way of dealing with my exhaustion is looking at one of those dramas. Has got, I mean, don't use your brain, just look at it, and a nice good cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
So if you're feeling exhausted, like, and there are various people have different things. Like one of my team manager told me I love dancing, and I feel exhausted, I'd actually dance it out, and I'm like, great. So there is a way to get out of the exhaustion. So, and it's about training your mind in terms of saying that if I do this, my exhaustion goes down. I'm recharged for the next day. So find your space, whatever it might be. It might be like one of my friend feels that just looking at recipes helps her. And I was
Only
like, do you
looking at.
actually do cooking? Yeah. And she's like, no, I just like to look at it. I was like, great. If that is helping you, then that's your way of getting out of your exhaustion and, charging yourself. So every person has a different charger, like every different model of the phone has a different charger. Find your charger, and that helps you to recharge.
I love that. Different charger. In fact, for me, I've recently joined Zumba classes here and I really enjoy. And then the interesting thing is that there is this specific Bollywood Zumba. So
Oh, yeah.
we really have fun, and that is my recharge, if you ask me. Anyway, coming
Yeah.
back again, I mean, or rather, not coming back, what is your vision for yourself going forward as a person, as someone who wants to leave a legacy in this planet? Is there something that defines Rosie for the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think if someone would have asked me this like 20 years back, and I had this coach who was helping me. We all have coaches, right? When you go into the leadership journey, we have a coach, and I had a very great coach, and she asked me to write something about Rosie, right? Like define Rosie, and I was like, and that was gave me the time to think about me. 20 years back, for me, my definition would be my title, my designation, the organization that I'm working with, how loud I am by everyone that I'm working with. Now it is it's different. Now it's for me, it's about my internal peace. It's about what makes me happy. It's not that I don't like the titles or whom I'm working for. It's equally important, but that's not the only thing that can define me. It's about that balance that I get into my life in terms of doing what I want to do, what I love to do, and if I'm able to balance that both, then that's me. So current is like I'm a full-time working professional. I'm also studying because I want to know what's kind of waiting for me in the future. So I'm in that learning journey. At the same time, like any other individual, I want to have a lot of fun, and fun for me could be either fitness, either watching dramas, or whatever it is, right? But it's a combination of those three, and my future vision is where I'm able to balance the three together. If that answers your question, Dr.
Yeah,
Seema.
absolutely. That's, I think, again, that also brings to the very important point that as we evolve in our life and career, our priorities actually change. And that is evolution. That is definitely a personal evolution, I would say. Okay, so we have almost come to the end of our podcast due to time constraint, but I'm really enjoying this conversation. And one last question, because you are a role model for a lot of young women out there, someone who is aspiring to take up leadership roles in their life, I think this question will be interesting for them also. What is that message or one thing or wisdom that you want to share to your younger self? Maybe like you imagine your 25-year-old or your 35-year-old Rosie. What do you want to tell her as a wisdom?
Yeah, I think like and since you mentioned women leaders, right? So this is for the women leaders. I think as women, we spend years trying to prove that we can manage everything perfectly. I'd seen one of this picture somewhere in one of the newspapers where you had a woman with like 10 hands and trying to juggle everything. And unfortunately for women, we feel that that's basically a woman, right? And you need to change that picture.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. I mean, we need to accept that we are human, and at any point of time, we can do one thing at a time. And there is quite a possibility that when you're juggling six things, you could do two things right, and you need help for doing the rest of the four things.
Yeah.
So if I would have gone back, I would have asked for more help. knowing that I can't do everything. And then that help could be, and I have done that as well. Like my husband, my kids, my parents, they've all helped me. And that helped me to become a better leader, right? In terms of there are things which you have to do as an individual, which is probably your work. But there are a lot of other things in a day that you're trying to do, which can be done with some help from other people. And that could be your friends, your immediate network, your neighbors. I mean, I had a really good neighbor as well who used to kind of keep an eye on, my kids and the kids' nannies when I was actually working. And she would call me to say that, hey, I've not seen this nanny doing this, or, she's kind of doing this. And it helped me to such a great extent. I used to love. I had a few friends who used to telling me that this neighbor of yours is kind of being very snobbish. She keeps calling you and telling you about it. And I was like, I am so thankful that she's doing it, because indirectly she's actually helping me. Me not being there, but she's kind of helping me, right? Similarly, telling my kids that, hey, today, Tiffin, this is my challenge. I need to have a early meet today, which means that this will be our schedule, and this is where you're getting things from. Or acceptance, like when they know what is the larger picture, they help you rather than making you feel guilty. I think a lot of time what happens is that when people start making you feel guilty is where we actually step back. But if you take people along with you in that journey and tell them in terms of why you're doing what you're doing and why you need help, I think there are more than enough people to help you out. So I would have probably done a little bit more of that, is what I feel, if I would have gone back in my it's at the end of the day, stretch before long flights, and that you need to do every day, stretching before long flights. So this is a long flight. If you're getting into a leadership journey, it's not going to be an easy journey. So let me put that also outside. It is, you'll always have to juggle. You'll always have to make decisions, but take help. Know that you can't do everything on a particular day, and do not feel guilty. I think if you know those are recipes which will, help you growing further.
Excellent. What a nice closure to our conversation for today. I'm pretty sure we can talk more about various aspects, especially you coming with so much of deep expertise and knowledge in this domain of leadership, I would say, especially in a country like India, where women leadership is still in a very, we have not reached 50% everywhere, right? So obviously that is very important that women like you, role models like you, are there for the next generation and actually make the world more gender equal. Thank you so much, Rosie. This was a wonderful conversation. Thanks once again for being a part of SheSight and SheSight family, and managing your inner peace as well as all your career aspirations at the same time.
Excellent, Amin, for that, Dr. CV. Thank you so much. I had a good time speaking with you as well, and great questions, by the way.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Shruti, and I've got something truly exciting to share. The Fly High Women Awards 2026 is here, and this year we're taking it to an entirely new level. We're honoring women who build boldly, who innovate, create jobs, uplift their communities, and rise even when the world expects them to stay small. Whether you're a micro business owner, a creative entrepreneur, a tech founder, or driving social impact, there's a category just for you. Nominations are officially open. Don't wait. Share your story. Put your work out there. You never know who you might inspire. Tap the link, explore the categories on our website, and send in your nomination today.
Hello everyone. Before you move on to the next video, I have a request to make. If you like this video and this podcast, if you gained some valuable information out of this video, I would request you to click on the subscribe button as well as follow us on our social media pages. The links are given in our description. Also, do sign up to our website, www.shesightmag.com. We have amazing women stories as well as various women initiatives that are getting launched in the coming months. I'll see you there.